I shared it with everybody. In Richmond, California, a few days ago, a substitute teacher, and we're just going off of the video we've actually been able to see.
Right.
A substitute teacher had an argument with a student. During this argument, it seems as if the student, because they said racial slurs were included. So maybe the student called him a nigger. I'm not sure how he framed it, right? But we see this interaction between this substitute teacher and this student that ended with the substitute teacher slamming him to the ground, physically removing him from the classroom.
Yeah.
Now, being a teacher of 20 some odd years yourself, when you see this type of interaction between student and teacher, what do you think?
It's inappropriate. It's 100% inappropriate. I liken it to coach and athlete. I liken it to a certain degree, that child, that's in your neighborhood and you're an adult and you're supposed to have a little bit more wherewithal to not engage a child in that way. Now, it would be something totally different had this child physically attacked you.
Okay.
As a first line of defense. I can tell you firsthand that I've been put in so many situations as a teacher where, one, I didn't have a fear of my students, right? Two, if there was a fight on my corridor and I had physical ability to get in between two bodies, I put my body in harm's way. And granted, I've had principals and other teachers be like, why would you ever do that? My husband has said, please don't ever do that. I can remember breaking up a fight between two football players at Kennedy High School. Both of them were over 6 foot tall, both of them easily 300 pounds. And I just I grabbed his face and I said, look me in the eye. Focus on my voice. Look me in the eye. Don't look at him. And that calmed him. And then somebody else was able to get the, security finally came. Yeah. But in that moment, I didn't have a fear. I don't know. I'm weird. But what I also know is that young people, especially today, are hurting to be heard. And I'm going to repeat that. Young people are hurting to be heard. And so I don't know what the level of disrespect that this young man was exhibiting in the classroom, but I also saw another news report from the superintendent of school there. And I'm from the Bay Area, and I'm familiar with a lot of educators in the Bay Area. And I trust that they did a thorough investigation. They found that legitimately the young man did call the teacher the N-word, and they have promised that this student will also receive some repercussions. But I have to go back to my first initial response in that it's inappropriate for an adult to put their hands on somebody else's child in a manner that is that aggressive. Now, again, I say a caveat here. Caveat is if somebody put their hands on me first, where I feel like I have to defend myself. Because the Oakland chick in me, the Meadowview chick in me is going to be, I might black out. I don't know. I will also
if you touch, you're right.
I will also tell you, Harrison, that I've taught at continuation schools, and I have had gangbangers and drug dealers and pimps be like, I wish you would touch her. Like, I will beat you for her. Right? Because I built that kind of relationship in my class where my students trusted me, that they wanted to see me safely get home to my children and my family at night. That's the refreshing part for me, that I know that I wouldn't have had to be put in that situation, because somebody in my classroom would have got up and checked homeboy with the quickness. You don't talk to her like that.
Well, Sonia, are we looking at a difference between, because to me, like a police officer, like we're going to talk about later,
right,
going in this type of profession where you're helping people, in the emotional stability of the person in front of you matters, and it could be life or death at times.
Right.
When we looking at school systems who hire subs, because I know regular teachers have problems with students, yes, but is there a different kind of process when you're getting a substitute teacher? Is this someone who may not be on the same level as a regular teacher? Because my son had an issue with a substitute teacher as well before.
And I say yes. So there's a lower standard of credentialing for substitute teachers. They don't have to be fully credentialed. You just have to have a degree for most school districts and a clean background record. And so you can be hired to substitute in any subject and not even know anything about that subject.
Wait, whoa. Wait. So I can have a degree in education and never taught history or know anything about history, and I can be a sub in a history class.
Yes. Yes.
That's why we treat
at the end of the day, here's the thing. At the end of the day, the teacher that's assigned to that class has a due diligence. Now, there are emergencies when you can't put together lesson plans for substitute teachers. And so subs, if they're good, and because I was a good sub. When my first year when I got out of teaching credential program, I was like, oh, I'm a sub to see what district I wanted to be at, to feel the culture and the climate of the organizations. And so I subbed in like 5 districts one year. And I was just like, I would get called back, and it didn't matter the subject. Of course, I wanted to be called for a history class, but it didn't matter the subject, because if you are worth your weight in gold, being a professional, being educated, you can read ahead a chapter. Like, really, I'm don't put me in a chemistry class. Don't put me in today. Like the last time I took calculus was when I was in college. Don't put me in a calculus class today, because that's really going to cause me to have to go to the back of my brain and wipe away some cobwebs. But if you are worth your weight as a professional who wants to be in the field of education, you should be able to read ahead a chapter, see where students are. And if it's just a day assignment, like having educational activities in your bag ready to go that may not be in line with that subject, you are still a good suit for coming in as a sub in a classroom.
Oh, so that makes sense. It's everything is relating back to having a certain level of care, like understanding the assignment, and putting everything into it. It seems like, because I'm learning this, because my wife, she's like a perfectionist, and she like gives her all in any little thing she's doing, right? So it gets frustrating when, in my mind, the situation doesn't call for it. But in general, that ideology is powerful. Like, if you approach things a certain way, you can affect the outcome. Absolutely. Even if things happen and pieces move, because when I look at this sub, you're antagonizing the young man. He frequently told the young man, say it again. He eventually put his hands on him. So, me and my family was talking about it. If I'm the parent of this young man who had to witness my son getting manhandled by an adult, shit gonna have to happen. Something gonna have to take place. So I don't know if this dude was thinking about that clearly. But another thing I want to touch on with you, Sonia, we do understand, there's no excuse for putting your hands on a child in the classroom. There should be several steps before that. Before that happens. But what do we say about the disrespectful child? Like the different generation of children who go to school or go to places where adults are and have absolutely no respect for who's around them.
Yeah. And this could be anywhere, right? Because this could be in the grocery store. This can be at the bowling alley. Like, I call kids out, and I don't have a problem calling kids out. I'd be like, would you say that in front of your grandma? Like, I'm somebody's grandma. I need you to respect the eyes and ears of people who don't want to hear the bull crap that's coming out your mouth. I tell young men all the time, I don't want to see your underwear. I tell little girls that your chi-chi should not be showing for the whole world. I mean, so I feel as though the village has kind of also lost their way, that has allowed for children to lose their way. They don't know a level of respect because the village hasn't protected them. The village hasn't given them a sense of safety. So if the village doesn't care about me, why do I care about the village? On top of the fact that the village and the global perspective, from a global perspective, is telling me that I might not make it past 22. So what am I living for? And a lot of kids have that mentality. Like, if I make it past 22, I'm old. I really didn't made it, right? I will also say that there's a level of professionalism that comes in, like you said, with respects to law enforcement, right? I have been, I've been in these streets doing social justice work, and I can't tell you the number of cops that I've cussed out in their face and been like, I wish you would touch me, because you got to be professional today.